Welcome to Moraga, California on a Thursday night where what goes around comes around. These two teams started conference play against each other way back in September, and now the rematch is tonight. The Gales have won 6 in a row, and the Beavers have lost just 3 games in conference play and sit tied for third in the West Coast Conference. Hi, everyone. Welcome you courtside. I'm Matt Norville riding solo tonight. Big match. Needs nothing more to be said than what happens here tonight. Oregon State has everything to play for in the month of November. They've still got a chance to win the West Coast Conference. On the flip side, St. Mary's, they're trying to do something that they have not done since 2009. That's win 7 conference matches in a row in the WCC. So this will be a fun one here tonight. Big story, though. Maya Allen is out for St. Mary's here this evening. Take a look at first-year head coach Tyler Hillebrand on your screen. He was the associate head at USC. He was also the head coach at Long Beach State for a couple of seasons, assistant at Nebraska, outstanding All-American setter at Long Beach State, and played, of course, for Team USA. And he's got his Gales playing some really good volleyball. And they have won 6 in a row, 6-4 in the conference, currently 6th in the West Coast Conference. On the flip side, for Oregon State, you've got Lindsey Bohonic. She's in her 3rd season. She was a very good coach at Pitt. Really turned Pittsburgh around, went to back-to-back Final Fours before taking this job. She was a 2-time NAIA All-American, and something you don't see often. How about a middle is the head coach? Something you like to see. A lot of times you see setters. Not often do you see a former middle. And has Oregon State playing some good volleyball. They're 8-3 in conference play. This will be tonight, the 8th meeting between these two schools, and it's been dominated by Oregon State. They've won 6 of the previous 7. Last time the Gales won, you have to go all the way back to 2004, and that was St. Mary's winning in 5. What does tonight bring? Well, like we mentioned, the big story, Maya Allen out for St. Mary's. Everybody's healthy for Oregon State. And Maya had been balling out, man. She had 15 kills in each of her last 6 matches. One of the reasons why they had won 6 straight as St. Mary's. They'll be in the blue uniforms with the white numbers, with the exception of the libero and Pearson, who will be in the white uni with the red numbers. Oregon State will start with the volleyball to serve for first. It'll be the setter, Jackie Matias, the 5'9" junior. First serve, and we are underway. They'll set this to Bain, and it's put down in the back row. Let's give you the starting lineups. For the Gales, you've got Bain at 1 pin. The other pin is Castellan, along with Thunstrom. The setter is Lazovic. They will run a 6-2. The middle, Scouten and Thrower. For head coach Tyler Hillebrand, associate head coach is Brian Cook. Other assistant, Colin Hassoun and Paige McLeod. That's the coaching staff for the Gales. That's dug in the back row by Thunstrom. This is Castellan down the line, kept alive. It will not get over the net. That'll be 4, and a point for St. Mary's. R1 tonight is John Kenyon, and R2 is Brian Brink. 2 familiar names with volleyball on the West Coast. Mentioned the Gales took on Oregon State back in September. It was a 4-set victory for Oregon State. The first 2 sets dominated by the Beavers for the Gales, 1 set 3. And then it was Oregon State winning at set number 4, and it's 3-0 start for St. Mary's. And you're seeing already what the game plan is tonight for the Gales. Get behind that service line and let it rip. Miley Thunstrom, the 6'1" freshman from Murrieta, California. This will be bumped. Here's Hester, and puts it away. First point for Oregon State. Annika Hester is a first-team All-WCC performer last season. She's 6'4", the grad student from Maine. Started her career at San Diego before coming to Corvallis. Starting lineup for the Beavers, you got Rummel, the outstanding pen, along with, you just saw, Hester. Their 2 middles are Mars and Scholes, the setter, Matias, but they do run a 6-2 with Lilo as well. And they, at times, will play a 2 libero front, but they do not have 2 liberos here tonight. It's Shum at the DS, and Narlioglu is the libero. And Scouten out of the middle. It's a 4-1 start. Thanks for joining us here on ESPN Plus here tonight, home of the West Coast Conference. Oregon State currently tied for 3rd with Washington State in conference play. Gales are in 6th, and that's a service error for St. Mary's. That from Tessa Scouten. She'll rotate out. Something talking earlier in the week to Coach Tyler Hildebrand about. He says, hey, we're going to serve aggressive. That's going to be our game plan, and we do not mind service errors as long as we're doing it aggressively here tonight. Got to keep them off the nets. Bain lets it fly, and a point for St. Mary's. Genevieve Bain, first team all WCC last season. She was honorable mention back in 2023, and expect her really to get going and have a big night. Had 11 kills in their most recent victory over Seattle U on the road on Saturday. It's got a couple of swings and a couple of kills so far tonight. Here's Maddie Zorn. She's the other setter for the Gales. That's put down with some pop down that line by Hester. Something that jumps off really when you're sitting courtside is just how big and how physical the Beavers are. You got Mars is 6'4", the middle. Scholes is 6'6", the sophomore middle. Hester is 6'4", who's got the serve right now. And she's the oppo. What a swing. That's put away cross court. That is Gracie Vos, the sophomore. And a good start here for Coach Tyler Hildebrand, who he said, honestly, in this win streak, he has not really been happy with how they've started. They've been kind of slow to start, and that's something that him and the coaching staff have really been trying to develop and get better at. Free ball coming here for Oregon State. This will be set by Matias, just throws it over the net on a setter dump. Dug in the back row by the libero Narlioglu. That's rolled over. And that's put away. Thunstrom. They really like what this freshman has been doing. Talking to head coach Tyler Hildebrand earlier in the week, he said the young lady behind the service line on your screen, Abby Castellon, is really what got this going. This winning streak was against Pacific. She came in, and they just started playing some good volleyball, and then Thunstrom has come in since, and it's really picked it up even a whole nother level. Thunstrom on the swing, and that's what we're talking about. It's an 8-3 start for St. Mary's. 3 in a row for the Gales. They've only taken on Oregon State once here at the University Credit Union Pavilion that opened back in 1978. They're 0-1 against the Beavers here in this gym. Good block on that left side. That's a strong block out there. There's the freshman, Cormier. She's rocking number 22, and you got Mars, the outstanding middle. Also a freshman. There's some big-time youth on the floor both ways in this match here tonight as you watch this one back. Good job of pressing their hands over. Perfect position. Gets a side out. They'll get to thrower. That's kept up. That's played off of hands. Long way to go with Zorn. This will just be rolled into the back row. They'll go to Rummel. That's dug by Pearson. Played short by Thunstrom. They'll go back to Rummel. That's kept up by Castellon. And a free ball coming for Oregon State. They want to go quick. They run the slide to Mars. Good hands up front. That's into the block. Long rally. Matias. And that is going to be a point. They're going to call that a lift. They call that on Rummel, and that's something that's very interesting. We do a lot of volleyball, watch a lot of volleyball, and every R1's a little different for how they call that. You're seeing volleyballs get thrown a lot more. Sometimes the ball's beneath your shoulder and then you push is where they'll call the lift call. There's Rummel's swing touched up front. That's kept alive. Back set. Down the line. What a dig by Shum. Here's Rummel. They're making her work. Tip short right there, though, is Hester. They run the slide to Mars. Good block, good cover, and a point for St. Mary's. They've scored 10 of the first 14. Timeout, Oregon State, and head coach Lindsey Bohonic. Gales off to a fast start here in the opener. You are watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. We welcome you back to the UCU Pavilion. It's St. Mary's. They've scored 10 of the first 14 points so far here in this one. Let's take a look at the keys to the match for St. Mary's. Pretty simple. Block to win. And that's going to be all set up by how aggressive they are serving to really get Oregon State off the net. And on the flip side, Oregon State, talking to head coach Lindsey Bohanec before the match earlier, she said, hey, we've got to be the better team in transition. They've got a very good block as well, so when they get touches, they want to really go fast and put the volleyball to the floor. That swing by Rummel. That's kept up by Rummel on the overpass, off the shoulder by Scouten. That's dug in the back row. Here's the quick transition they're talking about. Good block. That's right side, strong side. That's Vos, also Scouten. And St. Mary's has scored 4 in a row. They lead 12-4 here in the first set. You're going to get a substitution. Mars is going to take a seat, and they're going to bring in Cheyenne Green, the 6'1" freshman from Pleasant Hill, Oregon. Oregon State in the orange with the black numbers. St. Mary's in the navy blues and the white numbers. Good hands. They're shading everything towards Rummel, who's an outstanding pin hitter for Oregon State. They go middle this time. Change of pace. Dug, though. This will be just rolled over by Vos. Back. And that's put away by Rummel. Rummel's first kill in her 11th swing, so they're making her work tonight. If you don't know, well, you better ask somebody. Lauren Rummel wears number 16 for Oregon State. First team All-WCC last season. She won a gold medal on Team USA, the U23 squad, and in the Orsaka Pan American Games over the summer. And she's second in conference in kills per set at 4.07 for the 6'2" senior who started her career at the University of Arizona. And she is a big-time player, man. 12-5 lead Gales. That's through hands and down by Thunstrom. Already 3 kills for Thunstrom here in this first set, and St. Mary's leads 13-5. Gales without Maya Allen tonight, also without Clarissa Klein. Maya Allen was 4th in the conference in kills per set, but unable to go tonight. Here is Rummel, and she tools the block nicely. Second kill for Rummel, who was the Offensive Player of the Week back on September 15th, and she's coming off a match in which she had 17 kills in the loss to Washington State, hit .356. So here's Jackie Matias, the 5'9" junior from Honolulu, Hawaii, who transferred in from the University of Hawaii. That's dug down the line by Shump. Here's Rummel again. That's Pearson who keeps it up. And that's put away by Miley Thunstrom. Thunstrom hitting above 400 with 4 kills for the freshman from Murrieta, California. And she will have the serve. A 14-6 lead for St. Mary's and a service error. That's the second service error for St. Mary's, but they've been doing a good job so far in this opening set of keeping Oregon State off the net and getting them out of system. It's always so key. The serve and pass game in volleyball is so key. Every coach talks about it, but really that is really what determines the match pretty much every time. Here's Kamanao Steen from Honolulu, Hawaii is Goldstein, the 5'9" freshman. Tipped down the line, good dig by Narlioglu. That's tipped short. Right there's Bain. Castellon throws it to that right back position. Kept alive. They go away from Cormier. This will just have to be played over. They wanted 2 contacts on that one. Doesn't matter. Put away, cross court out of the middle. That's Tessa Scouten. So the 2 contacts rule, which changed going into last season, they don't call 2 contacts anymore unless the ball goes over the net on that second or third contact. Then they can call it. A lot of times you don't see it called, as that's put away cross court by the outstanding freshman Cormier. That's one of the rule changes that really, if you ask coaches around the country, they love that rule. It takes, as they say, the decisions out of the R1 hands. A lot of times every official called that a little differently on the 2 contact with the setter. That's down the line by Castellon. Crisp offense so far here in this first set by St. Mary's. They're hitting as a team 333 here in the opening set, and they lead 16-8. Maddie Zorn now with the serve. Both these teams run a 6-2. Got Matthias for Oregon State and Lilo are the setters for St. Mary's, Lazovic and Zorn. And that was just long. St. Mary's in control, 17-8 here in the first set. Zorn down the line, good pass, out of the middle. That's put away by Alana Mars. She's from Washington. She was Freshman of the Week 3 times so far this season in conference. September 15th, 22nd, and October 20th. And came in 3rd in conference in hitting percentage and hitting .360 in WCC play. Castellon. That's kept alive, though, by Oregon State. What a get by Matthias. Matthias to the freshman, and it's Oregon State that wins the point. What a job by hustling around the net, and that's what Coach Tyler Hildebrand saying, hey, did she get all the way on our side to play it? As you watch this one back, this will be put away. Smart swing there by Cormier. 17-10, St. Mary's in the opening set out of the middle. That is in on that back line. That's Anaya Thrower that gets credited with that one. Her first kill of the night. You got Thunstrom with 4, Scouten, Bain, and Castellon with 2. Thrower and Vos with a kill apiece for St. Mary's, and that's a service error. 3rd service error against the Gales here in this opening set. On the flip side for Oregon State, you got Hester with a couple, Rummel with a couple, Cormier with 2, Mars with 1. Oregon State hitting .031 so far here in this first set. St. Mary's, they're hitting .333. Out of the middle is Thrower, touched by Mars. They'll go to Rummel, and she'll put it away. Man, she can elevate, man. We're sitting courtside. Stands 6'2", does the senior. Oregon State starting to build some momentum here, creeping back. Trailing 18-12. Tia Shum, the grad student from Ontario, with the serve, the transfer from East Carolina. That is wide on the swing by Thunstrom, and it's a 5-point first set. Still a long way to go here in this first set. Oregon State starting to figure things out a bit. And Thrower puts it away. That's a beautiful set, just over her head. Just tipped it back to Zorn, and Thrower just slam dunked it. You watch this one back, beautifully done. Nothing you can do about that one. Here is Elena Pearson, the libero with the serve. They go to Rummel. That's kept up by Castellon. Into the block by Thunstrom. From the back row, tip short, makes Mars touch it first. That's tipped high. Right there, though, is Thunstrom. Out of the back is Castellon, and she puts it away. Get that arm loose, young lady. 3rd kill for Castellon. Timeout, Oregon State. St. Mary's up 20-13 here in the opening sets. You're watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. 500 seats here. And earlier this season, we saw the record attendance when St. Mary's took on San Diego, and that was 1560. And that showed up as that finds the floor. It's all St. Mary's here in this opening set, 20-14 over Oregon State. Keep in mind, in their matchups in which Oregon State has dominated, they've won 6 of 7. St. Mary's has only won 5 sets. So they're looking to pick up a set here. And they're off to a good start. Something that Coach Tyler Hildebrand and staff said they've really worked on is trying to get off to faster starts in matches. That's a service error by Green, and it's 21-14 St. Mary's. Both timeouts have been used by Oregon State. Both timeouts remaining for the Gales. And Ivana Lazovic, the freshman from Serbia, now will do the serving and the setting and for the Gales. She was setter of the week back on October 27th. Comes in averaging 6.548, I should say, assists per set. That's touch up front. There is Lazovic. And Thunstrom, nicely done, tools the block perfectly. And it's 22-14. Thunstrom having a big first set. She's got 5 kills, does the freshman. That answers that question. With Maya Allen out, who are you going to turn to? They turn to another freshman in Thunstrom. Gales up 22-14. Chance here for St. Mary's. They go to Bain. That's a good block. Good hustle by Lazovic. Free ball here for Oregon State. They run the slide. Thrown down the line. Right there is Pearson. Bain will tip it short. Good get by Shump. Out of the back row. Put away by Hester. And that's an out-of-system point won by Oregon State. And that's always another key to keep an eye on throughout the match, is who can really win the out-of-system points. That's always so crucial. 22-15, St. Mary's down the line. Touch first by Thunstrom. They go out of the middle by Scouten. And they're keeping Oregon State out of system here so far in this first set. Tip short, touch first by Hester. They go out of the middle. There's Pearson for St. Mary's. Thunstrom down the line, dug by Shump. Back set. Good hands on that left side. They go back to Thunstrom, into the block. Lazovic, mix it up. Bain squeeze it through. Her third kill. She's hitting close to 500 here in this first set, and the Gales 2 points away from taking the opener. You watch Bain. Good high swing from Bain. Your coaches all the time say, hey, we want to hit high hands. 23-15. Into the block. They play it off the net. Pearson can't do anything with it. And that'll be Natalie Scholes, the sophomore from Germany, who puts that one away. That's the first kill for Scholes. Mars out of the middle has a couple, and Green has none. So if you're taking a look at what the middles have done so far for Oregon State here tonight. Now you got Rummel with the serve. Goes at Thunstrom. Good pass from Thunstrom. Castellon tips it with the left hand. Free ball played short. Scouten touched it. Didn't need to in that middle spot by Scouten. She immediately goes, my bad. Yet good coverage for St. Mary's. 23-17. Rummel, the started career at the University of Arizona, originally from Tucson, Arizona, as a 6'2" senior, and she's as good as they come. No doubt about it. She's a special player. Back set, Bain puts it away. So is that young lady. Genevieve Bain hitting above 500, and you've got set point, and it's the middle Scouten behind the service line. The 6'2" sophomore from Davis goes right at the libero. And that's put down with some authority by Hester. Really working Hester here tonight. Remember, she was first team all WCC last season. The 6'4" grad student. Came in averaging 1.99 kills per set. And this will be set point number 2 for St. Mary's. They go at Castellon. Castellon blocked right back. Castellon over on 2. That's tipped over. Staying out of the net was Cormier. Castellon puts it away, and the first set goes to the Gales. They led from start to finish in impressive fashion as they take the opener 25-18. Stay with us. Set number 2 comes up. You're watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. Pavilion, St. Mary's taking the opening sets over Oregon State by a score of 25-18. Hi everyone, I'm Matt Norville riding solo here tonight. Thanks for joining us here on ESPN+, watching some West Coast Conference volleyball. As you take a look at what's going on the campus of St. Mary's, well, how good is their soccer program? Well, they've got a chance to win their first ever West Coast Conference regular season title. And that is a big match on Saturday when they take on Santa Clara. Kickoff slated for 1 p.m. The Gales coming off a victory 3-0 over Oregon State in Corvallis yesterday. So it's back-to-back nights that the Gales taking on the Beavers in a couple of different sports. But a big match on Saturday here on the campus. What's happening here so far in that first set for St. Mary's? Well, 5 kills from Thunstrom. She hit 286 in the opening set. The numbers you really like to look at, you always want to look at the side-out percentage. And St. Mary's had a huge 78% in that opening set. Oregon State 58%. And the other one, point scoring. Anything over 40 is very good. How about 42% in the first set for St. Mary's in terms of point scoring, and just 21% for Oregon State. We switch sides. St. Mary's to start things here in the second set. Another good serve, and that's an ace. First ace of the night. That for Lazovic. That's her 24th this season. St. Mary's has never trailed so far in this match. Led from start to finish in that opening set. The freshman from Serbia with the serve. Another good one. Targets the libero, Narlioglu. Out of the middle. That's put down by Cheyenne Green, the 6'1" freshman from Oregon. Originally from Pleasant Hill, Oregon. And we're tied for the first time tonight. These two teams met earlier this season, and it was Oregon State winning in 4 back in September. Oregon State took the first 2 sets. St. Mary's took set number 3, and then Oregon State took the 4th set to win the match. Here's Thunstrom into the block. Good block on that left side. Green was involved along with Cormier. And this Oregon State team is second in blocks per set in the West Coast Conference. These are 2 of the 4 better blocking teams in the West Coast Conference. Oregon State second, averaging 2.60. St. Mary's 4th, averaging 2.30 blocks per set. Bain down the line, nicely done. Good change of pace by Genevieve Bain. She had a big first set at 4 kills. She's got 5 for the match, hitting above 571. Two apiece. Here's Thunstrom. Set out of the middle. That's good hands by Scouten. They go away from Scouten. And that's put away by Genevieve Bain. 3-2 lead for St. Mary's. Coach Tyler Hildebrand was talking about what's really changed for them since that Oregon State match. He said, well, first, we were in a 5-1. We're now in a 6-2. Our lineup is better solidified, and we've just done a better job with our blocking, especially the last 6 matches. And that's put away by Oregon State. But it's really all set up by the serve and pass game. They've been a more aggressive serving, which has kept teams off the net and really kept them out of system, which makes it easier to read and set up your block better. 3-all here in this one. In the second set after St. Mary's took the first set 25-18. Green targets Thunstrom. Ooh, that's going to be called against Oregon State. That's breaking the plane of the net. That'll be a point for St. Mary's. A lot of times you'll see the middle get very aggressive when the ball's tight to the net, thinking it might be an overpass or thinking you could maybe get an illegal back row attack with the setter coming up to the front. That's tipped down the line. Scouten's going to set it, does the middle. Bain just punches it, and that did not hit anybody. That's out of play, and we're tied at 4. Yeah, because as soon as the middle touches the ball with the setter that's in the back row, a lot of times they'll call that an illegal back row block against the setter. That time they're a little over anxious and went over the net and broke the plane. Lazovic. Castellon down the line. Beautiful swing. Looks like she's going cross and instead goes down the line. It's a 5-4 lead for the Gales. Watch this one back. Watch Castellon on your screen wearing number 25 in the blue. Looks like she's going angle, instead goes down the line to that right back position. Beautiful swing. They run the slide. Pearson fisted, kept it up. What a get by Zorn. And a free ball for Oregon State. They'll go quick. That's a good block on the right side. They go back to the freshman this time. Cormier, lock and load. Tied at 5. Head coach Lindsey Bohonic really sings the praises of that freshman, Cormier. She said what she likes about her, not only does she have a powerful arm, she can play left or right, but she's just constantly aggressive, always hitting hard, and that's what she likes to see. And you can see that from Cormier. That's touch, kept alive in the back row. Rummel, that's touched up front. Pearson will bump set it to Castellon, plays it deep, too deep, and that's out of play, was not touched. And it's a 6-5 lead for Oregon State here in the second. Back to Miley Cormier, the freshman from Quebec. She played international as well. You mentioned Rummel played for Team USA in the U23s. Well, Cormier played in the U19s and the U21s. And was that touch? It looked like it was. However, they say it was not. Might get a challenge here from head coach Tyler Hildebrand, because courtside it looked like it was touched, and you will. First time we've seen the challenge here tonight. Gives us a chance to talk about the challenge system. Each team gets 2 challenges, does each coach. If you win, you get to keep. If you lose it, you lose it. You get an additional challenge if it goes to 5. As long as you have less than 2 challenges remaining, you can never have more than 2 challenges at any moment in the match. And you can challenge a ball ruled in or out, a ball contacting a player, net faults by a player, service foot faults, and a top line faults by a back row attacker, or by a libero setting the ball in the front zone. As you take a look at this one on the swing from Gracie Vos, who's wearing number 13 in the blue. She immediately says she thought it was touched. Mars, wearing number 1 in the orange, says, no, I didn't get it. And that's what they're looking at. They'll have more camera angles than we have to show you here on ESPN+. But clearly you can see Matthias is nowhere near the volleyball, so we'll be looking at the freshman who stands 6'4" in Mars, wearing number 1. If she's the person that touches it, and it has to be overwhelming evidence to overturn that one. Ball was clearly out. We'll also take a look at that too sometimes to see if the ball also was in. Even though you're looking at one, you can look at something else as well. But the ball is clearly out, so they're looking at the touch. Does Mars touch it on the swing from Vos? If not, this will be the largest lead that Oregon State has had in this match at 7-5. Tough really for us to see from that angle. Really, you need more of a net cam to catch it. And like we said, that the R2 has more cameras to look at than we can show you here on ESPN+. And the R2 tonight is Brian Brink, a very good official, by the way. He has officiated a lot of big-time volleyball matches, not only in America, but around the world. So taking a long look at this one. If you're just joining us, so where have you been? St. Mary's took the opening set at 25-18, in which they never trailed, and the challenge will be lost by head coach Tyler Hildebrand, so they will stay with the call on the floor. So St. Mary's with 1 challenge remaining. Here's Tia Shum, the 5'6" grad student. Goes right at Thunstrom. Rolled by Castellon, and you're going to get a net violation called, I believe, against Mars, and they do, against the middle. So side out for St. Mary's. So Abby Castellon, the 5'11" senior from Modesto, California, that really kind of turned around the season for St. Mary's in that match against Pacific, according to head coach Tyler Hildebrand. And you're going to get a net violation called against St. Mary's. Right back at you. Yasmin Narlioglu, the sophomore from Turkey, now with the serve behind the service line. 8-6 lead Beavers, and that's a service error, their second. 2 service errors tonight with no aces for Oregon State. 1 ace and 3 service errors for the Gales. Elena Pearson, the junior from Kansas, played at Texas A&M and Missouri before coming to St. Mary's. The very good libero for the Gales. That's put away out of the middle. Cheyenne Green. That's her second kill of the night. And here's the junior from Honolulu, Hawaii. The transfer from the University of Hawaii is Jackie Matias. Oregon State at times this season has played a 6-2. They've also played 5-1 as well. That's into the block, and that's a block on Oregon State side. A little right side, strong side from them. That's Hester along with Green. On the swing from Thunstrom. Thunstrom has 5 kills. Her hitting percentage now. That's an overpass. Easy money for Rummel. And it's 11-7 Oregon State here in the second. Timeout St. Mary's. We'll take it with them. You're watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. It's Oregon State leading here in the second set, 11-7 over St. Mary's. Thanks for joining us here on ESPN+. A reminder for you, St. Mary's next volleyball match will be on the road taking on unbeaten the University of San Diego, who's got a bye here today, along with Washington State. That'll be a big match happening on Saturday. There's right side, strong side out of the timeout. Scouten and Vos. When you take a look at the standings in the West Coast Conference, it is San Diego 11-0. You've got Pepperdine 9-2, Oregon State and Washington State tied in third at 8-3. Santa Clara right behind them at 7-3. Mentioned St. Mary's 6-4. They've won 6 in a row. That's tipped short. Scouten keeps it alive. Lazovic to Thunstrom. She finds the floor. I've been impressed with this freshman, man. 6 kills. That's her 18th swing already. Came in hitting a .176, averaging 1.81 kills per set was Thunstrom. Lazovic. Back set. Kept up by Lazovic. Pearson. That's touched. They'll go back to Rummel. What a get by Lazovic. That's going to be an over the pass. Touched though by Scouten. Lazovic. That's rolled short. Good get by Shump. That's good hands on the right side. Strong side. The blocking's been much better for St. Mary's. The last 6 matches. Timeout, Oregon State. It's 11-10 Beavers. We're in the second set. You are watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. Took the opening set 25-18. It's 3 in a row now for the Gales, as you've got the freshman from Serbia, Lazovic, behind this service line. Setter of the week back on October 27th. And just last week was the setter of the week. She is just continuing to improve for head coach Tyler Hildebrand. Lazovic back sets this one. Bain will just tip it cross court. Touch first by Rummel. Good swing on that left side. Could not keep it in play with that strong block on the right side for St. Mary's, and that'll be a kill for Annika Hester. Hester now, that's 6 kills, hitting .286 for the grad student. You had 2 preseason All West Coast Conference members for the Beavers. Rummel was one of them, and Hester was the other. Both of them were first teamers last season. They target Thunstrom. Lazovic goes to Thunstrom, rolls it, touched up front and kept alive by the libero. That'll be tipped short. Right there is Thunstrom. Here's Bain into the block. Good block on that right side, man. Hester's playing some ball along with Green. So they made the move. They brought in Cheyenne Green. Got 3 middles for this Oregon State Beavers team, you got Mars, the freshman, Scholes, the sophomore, and then Green's the freshman. It's a lot of youth, a lot of size. They go 6'4", 6'6", 6'1". And we've seen all three here tonight. 13-10 lead Oregon State. Here's Goldstein. And that's a service error. Third service error of the night for the Beavers. St. Mary's within 2 here in this second set. Good serve. Free ball coming. Oh, that they've wanted 2. No call. Out of the middle, Scouten, and she'll put it down. As Scouten puts it away out of the middle. 4th kill for Tessa. She's hitting 500. Thrower is hitting 500 as well. As you watch it back, they just go to Tessa one-on-one, and she puts it down. 13-12, Oregon State leading St. Mary's. Last 6 matches for the Beavers. They're 3-3. Last 6 for the Gales, 6-0. Good pass by Narlioglu. Hester. That's kept up by Lazovic. Here is Castellon to the back row. That's tipped with the left hand by Cormier. Bain. Into the block. Block starting to pick up for Oregon State. That's their 5th block here in this match. Gales got 4. Oregon State has 5. 14-12 Oregon State. That's another service error. 4th one of the night. That came off the hand of Green. She'll take a seat. Got the libero in for her. Narlioglu. Tessa Scouten with the serve. Out of the middle. Good hands. Good cover, though. That's touch. Thunstrom. Castellon. That's kept alive. Cormier just resets it. They go back to Cormier. Good dig by Thunstrom. Castellon squeezes it through the block. And we're tied at 14. Castellon just able to get it off of hands and find the floor and tie us up at 14 up. That's a service error from Scouten. 4th service error for the Gales tonight to go along with an ace. This Gales team playing with a lot of confidence. In the words of Coach Tyler Hildebrand, their confidence is high. The energy and the vibe has flipped. And another service error, back-to-back service errors. Earlier in the season, they were struggling to win, played a lot of matches on the road. I asked him, I said, hey, what do you think the turnaround has been? He said, honestly, we just didn't have a lot of time to train. Now we're able to have some home matches. We're able to train, and you're starting to see some of the youth starting to play much better. And the Gales starting to produce some results. That's an ace. That ball just floated and then died on the back line by Zorn. Second ace of the night for the Gales. And they retake the lead here in the second, 16-15. Played short. Out of the middle, tipped by Mars. Right to where the donut is. That's her 3rd kill for the outstanding freshman. She'll be in the running for freshman of the year, no doubt about it. 16 up. Chance for Oregon State out of the middle. That's kept up. What a get by Zorn. Castellon just sends it in the back row. They go quick in transition. And that is wide and out of play. It was a good idea by Rommel, but she missed it. Well, that was one of the keys coming into tonight was, hey, we got to be better in transition. Got to be the best team in transition, according to head coach Lindsey Bohannock. And so far tonight, That has not come to pass yet, but the match still early. 17 up on another service error by the Gales, their 5th. So here's Yasmin, a sophomore from Turkey. They're playing just one libero tonight. Oregon State's been known to go with 2 liberos at times. That's touched. That was going to be long, but that was touched down the line by Hester. And it's 18-17. Elena Pearson now with the serve. St. Mary's only hitting, and that's going to be a rotation error called against Oregon State. (19-17) Gales. St. Mary's hitting .037 this set. Oregon State hitting a .143. 9 kills for the Gales, 7 for the Beavers. And that's another service error as Pearson was trying to go and make Rummel have to touch it. It's been a tight second set. Mentioned no ties and no lead changes in the opening set. It's been quite the opposite here in the second. Long way to go for Zorn. And they won't be able to get it over the net. And it's 19 apiece. Here's Matias with the serve. That's the first ace of the night for Oregon State. Zorn. And that missed. Trying to go down the line by Gracie Vos, and she missed it. Timeout taken by St. Mary's. It's 20-19 here in the second set. Oregon State leading over St. Mary's. We keep it right here. Let's go through some of the numbers for you so far in this match. You got Thunstrom and Castellon leading the way with 7 kills apiece. Thunstrom hitting 200, Castellon hitting 316. You got Bain right behind her for St. Mary's hitting 214 with 6 kills. For Oregon State, it's Hester with 6 hitting 250. After that, Rummel, who's a superstar, they have kept in the negative so far on that left pin. She's got 4 kills hitting negative .042. Then you've got Cormier, the freshman, who's got 4 kills hitting .364. Side out percentage is a number you always look at. Point scoring as well. And the blistering number in that first set was 78% side out percentage for St. Mary's and 58% for Oregon State. That number has come drastically down. Now for the match, St. Mary's siding out at 68%. Oregon State's bumped theirs up to 59% for the match. Oregon State leading 20-19. St. Mary's out of timeouts here in this set. Matias has given them 3 in a row for Oregon State. Zorn. Thunstrom. That's kept up by Scouten. It somehow was blocked, and Scouten with the left hand just kept it up, and it rolled over the tape and found the floor. Well, when you're in the right position, sometimes good things happen. And when you're just trying to cover, sometimes the ball finds you. Timeout, Oregon State. Tied up at 20. You watch this one back, and you get to see what Tessa Scouten did to pick up her 5th kill of the match, hitting .556. It was on the swing out of the middle, and it just ricocheted, and Scouten just with the left arm just found it, just kind of bumped it over. As you watch this one back, just finds her left arm, just pops it up, and nobody home. Nothing Oregon State could do. Always staying active, always staying alert. That's always a key in volleyball. And it's 20 up. Well, Oregon State, after the match here tonight, they will be on the road again as they will be taking on LMU on Saturday. Actually, I take that back. They'll be at home on Sunday against LMU, not on the road. That'll be a 1 o'clock first serve. They played on Sunday last week against Washington State. That was their most recent 4-set loss. Before that, they swept Portland on the road. And they won at LMU on October 25th. So they're taking on LMU a couple of times in the last 2 weeks. But that one will be at home in Corvallis on Sunday. St. Mary's trying to take a 2-0 lead. Tied up at 20 here in the second set. Lazovic targets Shump. That's dug by Lazovic. Castellan into the back row. Mishandled, though, by Matias. And that's going to find our direction. Out of play, and it's 21-20. St. Mary's leading Oregon State. 3 in a row, right back at you by the Gales. Both teams out of timeouts. Down the line, touched by Shump. Good dig by Pearson. Setter dump, touch first by Rummel, nothing you could do. That was a good job of the setter dump by Lazovic. And the Gales lead 22-20. When you do that, got to make sure if you jump, you stay below the net, which Lazovic did. Beautiful, because if you get above the net, then it's an illegal back row attack. Good serve by Lazovic. Good hands. That's blocked on the left side. That's Thunstrom and Scouten. That's 4 in a row for St. Mary's. They lead 23-20. Going to get a substitution. Hester is going to take a seat, and Bridget Gould, the redshirt freshman from Oregon, who's the transfer from the University of Oregon, stands 6 foot. She'll be in the match for the first time tonight. Another good serve by Lazovic. Good hands, and that is put away by Rummel. Good high swing from Rummel. They're making her work tonight. 5 kills, and she's hitting in the negatives. That snaps 4 in a row for St. Mary's. You side out, you take a 2-0 lead if you're the Gales. Just play side out volleyball. The next couple of points. Lazovic. Thunstrom. Missed it. Trying to go down the line. And it's a 1-point set. He's got a good arm, does Thunstrom. Taking good, hard, aggressive swings as well as Miley. 23-22. Lazovic. Bain had to wait on it and had to tip it short, and it finds the floor, and you've got set point for St. Mary's to take a 2-0 lead. It's 24-22. Set point, St. Mary's. Down the line. Cross court, what a dig. That's an overpass. Joust at the net. Scouten! 2-0 lead for St. Mary's. Playing some good volleyball. They take the second set, 25-22. After they took the opening set, 25-18. Look at Scouten. Go up and get it. It's a 2-0 lead. You're watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. It's a 2-0 lead over Oregon State, looking for their first victory over Oregon State since way back in 2004, and this is how they've gotten it done so far. Took the opening set 25-18, set number 2 25-22. And you've got the trifecta, Thunstrom, Bain, and Castellan with 7 kills apiece. Scouten out of the middle has done outstanding work. 6 kills, hitting 600. For Oregon State, really the story coming in was all about Rummel, how good of a player she is, and they have really made her work. 5 kills, hitting 0 in 27 swings tonight. Hester leads the way with 6 for Oregon State, but it's St. Mary's with that 2-0 lead. They're quicker to the volleyball. They're winning the out-of-system points, and they're serving aggressive here so far in the first couple of sets, and that's really why they've got the lead. And they're doing it without Maya Allen, who is out with an injury here tonight. The outstanding freshman pin hitter, who has had 6 straight matches with at least 15 kills. And you know who picked up the slack? Thunstrom. We'll get head coach Tyler Hildebrand's comments here shortly as we take a look at the stats so far in this one. St. Mary's hitting .218, out hitting Oregon State so far. And you just look at how scrappy they've been. 43 digs to 37 for the Beavers. So we're going to get thoughts from head coach Tyler Hildebrand as he comes on over to put on the headset. It's a 2-0 lead for St. Mary's. As we are now courtside, I'm at Norville. Head coach Tyler Hildebrand. Hey, 2-0 lead. You talked about, hey, serving aggressive. You kept them off the net. You've really kept them one-dimensional. How have you seen it so far?
Yeah, you and I talked, and I think for us the key, these guys are very talented, physical. They take big swings. We got to get them off the net. So we were trying to be aggressive serving, and man, those are barrels the background girls can pass. But we're doing a good job of getting them in some trouble. But we've also been working, as I told you, on IQ and quick bang plays. And I think we're winning those points where earlier season we weren't. So, but hey, it's a reset. This sets our natty right now, and we'll see what we got.
All right, good luck the rest of the way, Coach.
Thanks, brother.
That's head coach Tyler Hildebrand. 2-0 lead for St. Mary's as we get ready for set number 3. Thanks for joining us here tonight on ESPN Plus. As he walks back talking about, hey, we need a conference tournament in the West Coast Conference. That's been what he's been preaching. We actually chatted about that at the end of our talk earlier in the week. It's something that maybe that'll happen down the road in the WCC, as you see a lot of conferences around the country that do have the conference tournament. Right now, the automatic berth goes to the regular season champs, and currently University of San Diego unbeaten, and they are number 1. All right, here we go here in this third set. Gales up 2-0. Long way to go. Bain into the block. Good cover, though, by Pearson. Thunstrom didn't get it over the net. That caught the antenna, and it's a 1-0 start for Oregon State. In that second set, we saw 11 ties, 6 lead changes in that second set. It's a 2-0 lead for St. Mary's. They go down the line at Thunstrom. Out of the middle, tipped short by Scouten. Good hands by Scouten, but Mars is able to get credited with the kill. Scouten was able to touch it, but it went off of her out of bounds, and it's a 2-0 start for the Beavers. Their largest lead tonight has been just 2 points. That's long and out of play. 6th service error here tonight for Oregon State. I think one of the stories we didn't get a chance to ask Coach Tyler Hildebrand about, but by Oregon State having to be one-dimensional, it's really been able, the block's been able to gear up on Rummel, because that's really been the only option where Matthias has been able to go. That's put away, as that is that young lady Rummel, and if she gets going, look out. I just love the way she plays the game of volleyball. She's going to rotate out. They're bringing in to do the serving for Goldstein. And into the front row is the outstanding freshman, Miley Cormier. Played for the U19 and U21 team in Team Canada, did Cormier. Out of the middle, Scout doesn't get it over, and it's a 4-1 start for Oregon State. Largest lead of the match right now for the Beavers. Long way to go. Oregon State 8-3 in conference play. St. Mary's 6-4 in league play. Pearson, good pass. Lazovic. Castellon, good hands on that right side block for Oregon State. Bain. That's kept up. Long way to go. Good get by Matthias. Chance for St. Mary's. That's put away by guess who? There's that young lady again, Genevieve Bain. One of the better players for St. Mary's in their history. Continues just to move on up. The all-time ranks, 8 kills now for Bain tonight, hitting .278. Scouten behind the service line. That's tight to the net. Ooh, that's put away. What a get by the setter to feed it to Mars. Matthias able to bring that one back, and Mars can unload for her 5th kill. When you take a look around the conference, RPI, a big one when you start thinking about at-large bursts. San Diego's got the best RPI in the conference at 45. Pepperdine's at 58. Oregon State's at 103. And then St. Mary's And their RPI's at 207. Cross, that's wide and out of play, and it was not touched. Point for the Gales. Again, thanks for joining us here on ESPN Plus. I'm Matt Norville, riding solo here tonight. Hopefully you enjoy what you're watching. It's Oregon State and St. Mary's. We're in the West Coast Conference. Oregon State currently tied for third in the WCC. St. Mary's in sixth. That's kept up. Castellon puts it deep into the back row. Goldstein touches it first, and that's put away by Cormier. She had 11 kills in their loss against Washington State on Sunday, hit .097. Here tonight, she's got now 5 kills, does the freshman, hitting above 400. Here is Annika Hester, and that's long and out of play. 7th service error tonight for Oregon State. There's Castellon, the senior from Modesto. Been impressed with her game here tonight. She's got some G, man. 7 kills, hitting .273. Here's Cormier off the net. Still gets it down. That's a good swing by a freshman. You can see why they love her. They said when she came on campus, she just fit right in. What's not to like about her? Wearing number 22 on your screen in orange. Off the net and finds the hole. There's Tia Shum, the 5'6" grad student, down the line. Makes Vos touch it first. Thunstrom took something off of it. Good get. Quick transition. That's what Oregon State wants to see. They want to be fast in transition, and that was nicely done. Doesn't give St. Mary's a chance to set up their block, and it's an 8-4 lead here in the third. Timeout, St. Mary's. We'll take it. You're watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN Plus. And we welcome you back on the campus of St. Mary's in Moraga, California. It's University Credit Union Pavilion. Let's take a look at the standings on your screen. San Diego, the only team unbeaten in the conference, and that's who the Gales play upcoming on Saturday in San Diego as they have an off week. They've got a bye here today. Same does San Diego and does Washington State. Everybody else in action around the conference. Oregon State stretching it a bit here in this third set, up 9-4. They go at Castellon. That's down the line, touched. Here's Rummel. Zorn will back set this one. Vos down the line. Rummel gets it. And that's a block on that left side as you had Rummel involved with the block, and it's 10-4 in favor of Oregon State. So you watch this one back. Mishandled by Castellon. St. Mary's out of system. Free ball coming. Nope, it's long and out of play. And it's all Oregon State right now, 11-4. Going to get Lazovic and Bain back in for the Gales as Zorn will take a seat. So will Vos. So by doing that, that means that you got Lazovic, who's now in the front row. Bain comes in the back row. Lazovic. Thunstrom. That was kept up in the back, sent over on 2. Bain from the back row, down the line, touched by Shum. They run the slide. That's tipped high. Right there, though, is Pearson, the libero. Thor tips it right back, and it finds the floor somehow. That gets head coach Lindsey Bohanek off her seat. It's 11-5 here in the third. Coach Bohanek, a very, very good coach. Won a national title at her alma mater, Concordia, when she coached back in the 2011 and 12 season. Then she was an assistant at Pitt, went to back-to-back Final Fours. This is a head coaching job at Oregon State in her third season. Castellon from the back row. That's kept up. Out of the middle with the left hand. That time was Green. Bain from the back row. That's kept up by Shum. Rummel. Bain kept it up. What a get by Bain. Thunstrom, that's dug in the back row by Narlioglu. What a get by Matthias. They go back to Rummel. There's Pearson. Centered up. Nicely done by Lazovic. Long rally goes to the Gales. They're playing some inspired volleyball tonight. They are really making Rummel work. 8 kills tonight for the superstar pin, hitting 086 for Oregon State. She's taken 35 swings so far in this match. That's the most out of anybody. After that, you got Thunstrom for St. Mary's, who's taken the second most at 29 swings with 7 kills. You're going to wipe the sweat off the floor. Also a chance to, catch your breath. It was a long rally. Smart move by Jackie Matthias. The junior setter, Pearson. That was a good serve by Pearson. Bain down the line, kept it up. Pearson will backtrack. Free ball coming for Oregon State, played short. Matthias back sets this. Down the line, put away by Cheyenne Green. She's come in and she's doing the work, man. 3 kills now for the freshman from Oregon. She'll have the serve. It's a good set by Matthias. Down the line, hit the hands of Pearson. Pearson's going to feel like she should have got that one. Pearson tonight has 15 digs as the libero for St. Mary's. They go away from the slide, and that is in on the back corner. Bain having a match. 9 kills for Bain. It's 12-7 in favor of Oregon State. Lazovic, who really got it going in the latter stages of that second set, which is why the Gales were able to come back and win that second set. She now has the serve. Out of the back row is Hester, and that's put away. Oregon State, this is as good as they've looked so far in this match. And they're going to get a substitution. Kayla Gabriel is going to check in for Hester. She's a 6'4" freshman from San Diego, California. Went to Westview High School last year. That never cleared the net. And it's 14-7. It's all Oregon State here in this third set. Matthias goes at the libero Pearson. Thunstrom. That's Doug. Rummel. And she missed it. It was not touched, although you've got Tia Shum saying she thought it was. But the coaching staff for Oregon State, they don't believe it was. Something that's different really about Oregon State than you see a lot of teams, they really have a 2-pass serve receive. If you've been watching the match at home, that's something that you notice there. It's tooling the block. That's a good swing from the lefty and Gabriel Diapo, who just checked in. And it's 15-8. But you just don't see that too many times where you have a 2-person serve receive, and that's what Oregon State for the most part uses. Coach Tyler Hildebrand was aware of that obviously on film. And so far tonight, St. Mary's has done a good job with their serving and keeping Oregon State out of system more often than not. Bain tips it and then right into the antenna. Oregon State's now doubled up St. Mary's here in this third set. These teams met back in September. That's how the WCC started the conference play. And it was a 4-set victory for Oregon State. They won the first 2. St. Mary's won the third, and Oregon State won the 4th. In Corvallis, tip short, kept up, off the net. Cormier misses it, wide and out of play. Here in this third set, Oregon State's hitting .364. St. Mary's negative .071. You got 10 kills in this set for Oregon State, just 4 for St. Mary's. A set middle. And was it touch? It was not. I'll tell you what, we'll see if there's a challenge. Hildebrand has 1 challenge remaining. Might have had an overrule. You did. You had an overrule by the R1, which means now you might get a challenge from head coach Lindsey Bohanec. Nope, and no challenge from the Oregon State coaching staff. So they're going to feel that the freshman Gabriel did touch it on the ricochet. Here is Gabriel. Good hands on that left side from St. Mary's. Cormier right into the block. They go back to Cormier. Again, right into the block. Centered up. Touch first by Thrower. Good cover by Bain. Lazovic. Down the line is Castellon. That's an overpass. Castellon doesn't want to swing on it. They go to Bain this time, and that's put away. St. Mary's playing some ball. 16-11. Oregon State lead down to 5. Lazovic just picked up her 20th assist tonight to go along with 8 digs. Looking for her 4th double-double this season. Cormier. And that's down with some pop. Man, I like this freshman. Miley Cormier. Get to know that young lady. I know this is the final year for Oregon State in the West Coast Conference. They'll be moving back into the pack next season. But my, oh my, she can play the game. That's an overpass, easy money. Put down by Cheyenne Green. And it's 18-11 Beavers. So just like that, they respond. Timeout, St. Mary's. We are in the 3rd set. It's Oregon State leading 18-11. You're watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. Conference standings again. You see San Diego at 11-0 in first, followed by Pepperdine, Oregon State, and Washington State are tied for 3rd with Santa Clara. You got St. Mary's currently in 6th. As you look at the top 6 in the WCC. Oregon State trying to win this 3rd and get to a 4th. Castellon missed it. That's long and out of play. Castellon, 7 kills, hitting right around 200 tonight. If you're just joining us, the outstanding freshman pin is out tonight, Maya Allen. And it's been Castellon and Thunstrom that have really picked up the slack tonight, as that's long and out of play. 8th service error for Oregon State with just 1 ace tonight. The Gales have 3 aces and 6 service errors. I mean, you got to serve aggressive just to try to get these teams out of system. So you're going to see some service errors at times, no doubt about it. Bain, that's an ace. 4th ace tonight for the Gales. That's the first ace tonight for Bain. That's her 21st this season. Matthias. Gabriel into the back row. That's dug by Thunstrom. Castellon squeezes it through. That's 3 in a row now for St. Mary's. Timeout, Oregon State. 19-14 here in the 3rd. We'll keep it right here as the Beavers are trying to force the 4th set. Bain in double figures with 10 kills, hitting 250. Also has 5 digs alongside. She's the only player either way in double figures. St. Mary's trying to hang around even though they're hitting -30 in this set. Castellon able to squeeze it through the big physical block that Oregon State has. We said coming in how big and physical they are. You look at their sizes, 6'4", 6'6", 6'1", 6'2", 6'2". They are physical, no doubt, but what St. Mary's has done tonight is they've just kept them off the net with their serve, and they've been a little quicker and more effective in transition, and especially out of system tonight, which was really one of the keys for head coach Lindsey Bohanec coming in. She said, hey, we've got to be the better transition team tonight to win this match. And the Gales just have a lot of confidence. That's what happens when you've won 6 in a row. (19-14) Oregon State. Thanks for joining us here on ESPN Plus tonight on your Thursday night as we are in the month of November. This is when volleyball gets really fun as you start getting closer to that NCAA tournament and conference champions. That's kept up. St. Mary's is going to a 5-1 with Lazovic as the lone setter, and that is put away by Cormier, and that's been effective for St. Mary's. Normally run a 6-2 with Lazovic and Zorn, but they've gone to a 5-1 here in this third set, midway through. And Lazovic has actually done a pretty good job blocking as the 5'10" freshman setter. Keep in mind they played 5-1 at the start of the year. They run the slide, want to go away from the slide, excuse me. Here's Cormier, and that is blocked right side, strong side. Thrower, and guess who? Lazovic. We're just singing her praises. 20-15 Oregon State here in the third. Castellon with the serve. That's tip short, touch first by Thrower. That's a joust at the net, won by Cormier. He had 6'4" Thrower against 6'2" Cormier. It's a good rotation for the freshman. Now has 9 kills tonight. That leads the Beavers. Tia Shum targets Castellon. Good pass. Lazovic to Thunstrom. Good hands on that right side. They go back to Thunstrom, and she misses it down the line. And it's 22-15. Thunstrom's been trying to go down the line. Her last 3 swings down the line have been just wide. She likes that line shot. That's just out. And that's a service error, the 9th. And you might see a challenge. I thought that was good live. Yeah, you're going to see a challenge from head coach Lindsey Bohonic. They're going to challenge to see if that was an ace. I'll tell you what, live, I thought it was an ace. And we'll get a look at this on our replay. First challenge used for head coach Lindsey Bohonic. I love the challenge system. Got R2 taking a look at it. As we watch this one back on your screen, it's Brian Brink who's looking at it. Is the R2. I'll tell you right now, Shum thought it was an ace. I thought it was an ace live. It's close, though. Remember, any part of the ball catches the line, it's in. The real question is going to be if they have enough to overturn the call. The call on the floor was out. It would be 22-16 if they stay with the call on the floor. It's another angle. Keep in mind they have more camera angles than we can show you here on ESPN+. Down the line. That's close. So you got to have enough to overturn it, otherwise you'll stay with the call on the floor. It would be the 9th service error against St. Mary's if they stay with the call, with just one lone ace for them here tonight. Well, this third set has been all about the Beavers. They're hitting 250, 14 kills for the Beavers. A couple of blocks as well. That means that 16 of the 22 points have been by way of them, and it's good. I thought it was good when I saw it live, and it's an ace. It's 23-15 now. Second ace for Oregon State. 22nd ace of the year for Shum. They're 2 points away from sending us to the fourth. Tip short by Bain. And it'll be a point for St. Mary's. So it'll be Pearson behind the service line for the Gales. .23, and that's a service error. Make it 24-16. It'll be a bunch of set points coming up for Oregon State as Alana Mars is into the front row. And Cheyenne Green will have the serve. Got 2 freshmen middle on the floor. They go at Castellon, mishandled. And that is long and out of play, and Oregon State responds. After St. Mary's took a 2-0 lead, it's Oregon State that answers winning set number 3 by a score of 25-16. Stay with us. Set number 4 comes your way next. You're watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. After going down 2-0, they take set number 3 by a score of 25-16. They led from start to finish in that third set. You hear coaches talk about, hey, we got to come out fast. They did in that set. And now we head to the fourth. When you look at that side-out percentage, that's a number we always look at. Oregon State, 68%. St. Mary's, 44%. And in that third set, you talk about points earned. You hear that a lot, too. They had an ace, a couple of blocks, and 14 kills. So that's 17 of the 25 points were earned by Oregon State. St. Mary's, on the flip side, they really struggled hitting in that set. They were hitting just in the negatives for the set, somehow able to make it competitive, but it was 25-16 in favor of Oregon State. Take a look at the match numbers. Bain, the only player in double figures with 10 kills for St. Mary's, hitting .240. Thunstrom now hitting negative, has 8 kills, hitting negative .029. You have 8 from Castellon, hitting .207. For Oregon State, it's Cormier, the freshman, who's got 9 kills, hitting .292. You got Rummel, the outstanding pen, hitting .054 with 8 kills, and then 7 from Hester, who's hitting 100. We switch sides. St. Mary's leading 2-1. Lazovic with the serve, as she will start in the back row. We'll wait and see if they go 5-1 or go back to their 6-2, and that's a service error to start to begin things here in the fourth. 8th service error for St. Mary's to go along with 4 aces. You've got 2 aces for Oregon State to go along with 8 service errors as well. Both these teams even for the match in terms of point scoring. Well, that was outside the antenna, was it not? It's going to be a point for St. Mary's, and it's 1-up. I think you're going to have head coach Lindsey Bohonic say, hey, wasn't the pass outside the antenna? I think that's what, because I thought it was outside the antenna played by St. Mary's, and it'll be a point for Oregon State. So we'll wait and see what the call is. We've got R2 talking with head coach Lindsey Bohonic. And they were taking a long time talking with Brian Brink. And Epps will be challenged. I'll be honest, I thought it was outside the antenna, so it was going to be a point for Oregon State. So they will take a peek at this and see if it was outside the antenna before it was even touched and played by Oregon State, which it was played outside the antenna, but I thought it was outside the antenna coming over the net. And you don't see a huge argument either from head coach Tyler Hildebrand. I think he knows which way this is going to go. See, Lazovic, well, that was outside the antenna. It's further back than that. As we watch this one through, you're going to see Lazovic is going to run towards the net. You see right there, I think the ball went outside the antenna right there. And I think that's what they're looking, was that ball played outside the antenna before you even had the touch by Rummel. Got Lazovic for St. Mary's doing exactly what you're taught, right at the net. In case she tries to come down, you can play the volleyball. But was that ball outside the antenna? And that's what I think the challenge is. I thought that ball was outside the antenna. It's happening on the far side of the court. But we'll see. The whole St. Mary's bench immediately said when she touched it, it was outside the antenna. But Oregon State thought the pass was outside the antenna. And that pass was coming off of Thunstrom. So we'll wait and see what the call is. They will stay with the call on the floor. So we are tied at 1-up. So both teams have just one challenge remaining. Keep in mind, if we do head 5, they will each get an additional challenge. And St. Mary's is very accustomed to 5-set matches. It's 1-up. Service error from Thunstrom. In this 6-match winning streak for St. Mary's, they've had 4 5-set victories. A 5-setter over Pacific, over Santa Clara, a reverse sweep over Seattle U, a 5-setter over Portland as well. Only at Gonzaga and at Seattle U were 4-set victories in this 6-match winning streak for the Gales. Long and out of play, tied up at 2. Gales on the road on Saturday when they will be taking on the University of San Diego. It was a good match earlier this season. It was the home opener in conference for the Gales in front of a big crowd. Overpass. Lazovic out of the back row. Thunstrom. What a get. That's tipped short, played by Castellon. They go to Bain. Good hands on that left side. Scouten has to touch it in the back row. Castellon with the left hand, nothing she can do, and that's good hands on the right side by Hester. And it's a 3-2 lead for Oregon State here in the fourth. Jackie Matias is going to wipe up some sweat, is the setter. Yasmin Narlioglu is going to have the serve. When you talk about, sometimes they have the two libero look in Narlioglu and Shum. They're a little different, as that is a service error. Yasmin is a very, very good passer as a libero. And they say Shum is a very good defender and really good at serving. And we've seen that here so far here tonight. It's 3 up. They are running the 6-2 to at least start things here in this fourth set. Zorn is in, goes down the line. Back set. Good hands. Thornstrom keeps it up in the back. Castellon puts it away. 9th kill of the night for Castellon. Trying to become the second player in double figures for St. Mary's. St. Mary's with a win tonight would win 7 WCC matches in a row for the first time since 2009 if they can win here in this match tonight. And they lead 2-1. It's a 5-3 lead for the Gales. It'll also be just the second victory all time against Oregon State. And the last one was back in 2004. That's dug in the back by Pearson. Center dump. Kept up. What a get by Matias. And then it's put down by Cormier. But put a star around the junior setter. Matias came flying in and kept that ball up. You watch this one back, and then Cormier able to squeeze it through the hands, as there was a little bit of separation between Vos and thrower. Got R1 and R2 talking about something. I did not see when Coach Tyler Hildebrand walked over there what he is talking about. What's his question? I think he's trying to see where they are in terms of the rotation, maybe. And now everything seems to be all right. So here is Annika Hester. That's a service error. Floats just a little long, 11th of the night. Here coaches talk about we like the 1-to-1 ratio. For every ace, we got a service error. Tonight, it's 2 aces to 11 of them for Oregon State. Cormier. Man, she's a nice player, man. Getting a chance to watch her live for the first time this year. 11 kills now for the 6'2 freshman. Man, her upside, you can just see it. I love the way she fights as well. It's got intensity, and she is aggressive in everything that she does. 6-5 lead, Gales. Zorn. Thunstrom touched. Tipped over. And nicely done by Matias. Such a smart move there by the setter. Tipped it behind her. That's something that Coach Tyler Hildebrand talked about when he was talking about how good she sets. He said she does a great job of going against the flow. And you saw that right there as we are tied at 6. Out of the middle thrower. Caught the top of the tape, kept up by Shum. And that's right side, strong side. Thrower and Vos on that right side. It's the 8th block tonight for St. Mary's. Good serve by Pearson, good pass. Back set, that never cleared the net. And it's an 8-6 lead for St. Mary's. They actually might have said they're going to give her credit for a block. We're sitting right along the tape. I thought it didn't clear. High, short serve. Matias back sets. And that is nicely done by Green. Her 5th kill of the night, hitting right around 300. It is the freshman middle. Two sets to one lead for St. Mary's. They're in Moraga, California, home of the Gales. Thunstrom kept alive. Free ball coming. Played short, touched by Thunstrom. That's kept up. Zorn out of the middle to Scout, and haven't called her name in a minute. And that's put away by Rummel. Couple of trends we've seen is it's 8 up. The transition game's starting to get better for Oregon State the last couple of sets. And it's been a while since Thunstrom's been able to have the volleyball hit the floor. 8 kills, hitting negative 0.26, came out on fire, and Oregon State has really adjusted their defense and done a good job on Thunstrom. Good serve, right at Castellon. Vos touched. Out of the middle, that's put away by Mars. It's 3 in a row for Oregon State, and they lead 9-8 here in the 4th. What a match tonight. Thanks for joining us here on ESPN+. And a service error, number 12. That gets Snarlioglu back in. So Yasmin, the libero, she wears number 11. Does the sophomore from Turkey. A St. Mary's Gales team returned 12 players from last year's team and 10 newcomers. That caught the top of the tape. Good pass by Shum. They go quick. Castellon, that's an overpass. Out of the middle, Mars again. Kept up, though, by Lazovic. Bain will just play it short. Good hands on the right side. Out of the middle, put down by Matias. They're running the 5-1, so Matias is in the front row. She can swing. Now she'll have the serve. And it's 10-9 Beavers. A junior from Honolulu. St. Mary's playing without Maya Allen tonight, the superstar freshman. She's out injured. Lazovic. Bain. That's kept up in the back by Yasmin. Down the line with some authority by Hester. And it's a 2-point lead here in the 4th. 11-9 Oregon State, as they've scored 4 of the last 5. Lazovic. They go to Scout out of the middle. Shum touched it first. Lazovic has to play it. Out of the back, Castellon. That's kept up by Matias. And that is wide and out of play. And a side out for the Gales. Both teams working hard here tonight. But the story in the last couple of sets for St. Mary's is that hitting percentage that was so high. And they were in the negatives last set. They're hitting 0 in this set. They're just battling. Down the line, Pearson just could get hands on it. That's it. Hester with 9 kills. Got 2 players in double figures kills, 1 on each team. Cormier with 11, hitting 310. And you got Bain has 10 kills, hitting 231. Kamano Goldstein, the freshman from Honolulu, Hawaii, with the serve for Oregon State. They go at Thunstrom. Bain, timing a little off on that one. Good hands up front. Castellon. Lazovic goes back to Castellon. She'll tip it short. Kept up by Matias. Cormier, was it touched? It was. I'll tell you what, not only did Matias keep it up, how about the fact that she kept it up and then passed it beautifully to the libero, Yasmin. Matias numbers tonight, another double-double, 32 assists, 14 digs for the junior. Lazovic, the other setter, has 22 assists and 12 digs for St. Mary's. It's a 3-point lead here in the fourth as Oregon State has taken the momentum. Right at Pearson, long way to go for Lazovic. Castellan kept alive in the back row. Matias, good set. Cormier puts it away. What a set by Matias. Timeout, St. Mary's. Oregon State leading 14-10 here in the fourth. You are watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. 14-10, Oregon State leading St. Mary's here in this fourth set, trying to force it and make it go 5. I'm Matt Norville riding solo tonight. Thanks for joining us here on ESPN+. It's West Coast Conference Volleyball. Talking earlier in the week to head coach Lindsay Bohonic about her team. At times we mentioned they do play 2 liberos. They haven't tonight, but she said, hey, we just have 4 really good defensive players. And so if it fits, that's what we'll do at times. And you're getting to see the defense for Oregon State really the last 2 sets. That's an overpass, easy money for Mars. And it's 15-10 Beavers. St. Mary's won the first 2 sets, 25-18, 25-22. It's been Oregon State since 25-16 in the third. They lead 15-10 here in the fourth. But all St. Mary's has done this year is played 5 sets. That's put away by Bain. Bain now with 11 kills. It's been a balanced attack from head coach Tyler Hildebrand's team. 11 from Bain, 9 from Castellan. She's 1 shy of tying her season high. Thunstrom's got 8 and Scouten's got 6. So you're going to get into do the serving for St. Mary's. Catherine G. She appeared last set for St. Mary's. That's right into the block of thrower. They'll reset. Good block. Oh, no, it squeezed over. Just got over. A little bit of gap between the blockers and the nets, and that's put away by Hester. Did everything right except had a little bit of a gap. And Hester now in double figures with 10 kills. They go at Thunstrom. Lazovic to Bain. And that's blocked on the left side, and it's all Oregon State here in the fourth, 17-11. Oregon State trying to force 5. And that's a service error. Mentioned the Beavers have a lot to play for. They're still in the hunt for a West Coast Conference title. This is a big match, though. Can't really afford with the way San Diego's playing. Can't afford a loss, you would think. And they also have 20 wins still in play for a season, which is always a big mark. They have 14 right now, and they have, after tonight, they'll have 6 matches remaining in the regular season. That's right side, strong side. Thrower and Vos. 9th block for St. Mary's, 9 of them for Oregon State as well. Good job pressing your hands over and getting it down. Hester tips it right there is Vos. They go from the back row. Thunstrom swing. That's dug by Matias. And that's blocked on that left side by Castellan and thrower. Timeout, Oregon State. We're watching some good volleyball here at UCU Pavilion. We'll take the timeout. It's West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. 17-14 Oregon State. The Gales on a 3-0 run here in this fourth set. They're trying to close it out in 4. Oregon State trying to force 5. It is Zorn behind the service line, goes right at Goldstein. That's dug in the back by Thunstrom. Castellan into the back row. Chance here for Oregon State. And Cormier tools the block beautifully. She is starting to really get loose. 14 kills for the freshman. Going into that swing, hitting .303. Now for the match, hitting .324. Hester. What a serve. That was a short ball. Vos able to find the floor. That's really the only option. And Gracie Vos, just her second kill tonight. That was her 19th swing. She's hitting in the negatives. Negative 158 for the match. St. Mary's as a team only hitting .043 in this set. But they're hanging around, and Cormier says no. 15 kills from the freshman. My goodness. So now you got Tia Shum, who was the Defensive Player of the Week back on October 6th in the West Coast Conference. The grad student transferred in from East Carolina. She's got the serve. Originally from London, Ontario. Miscommunication. Not sure where Zorn was going, and it's a point for Oregon State, and now they're 5 away from forcing the 5th set. Thunstrom, good pass. Zorn back sets to Vos, and she missed it. That's long and out of play, and it was not touched. And it's 21-15. The timeout, St. Mary's. We will keep it right here. As Oregon State, after the Gales won the first 2 sets, Oregon State's really controlled the next 2 sets. They've done a much better job putting the service pressure on the serve receive of St. Mary's. And the first contact for the Gales really in the last couple of sets has not been as good as it was in the first couple of sets. Oregon State after today, they'll be back at home taking on LMU. That match is on Sunday. St. Mary's is on the road in San Diego on Saturday. Got a couple of players in double figures kills for the Beavers. Cormier's got 15 of them, 10 of them for Hester. Baines got 11, the lone player for St. Mary's in double figures. Got a double-double already from Lazovic, 23 assists and 12 digs. And it's Matias with a big night, 36 assists and 15 digs to go along with an ace. She's also thrown in a couple of kills as well as the junior, the transfer from Hawaii, who they just can't talk highly enough about, the coaching staff for Oregon State. They said she came in early, came in January. She's a natural-born leader. They like that she's athletic and she's good on defense, but more importantly, it's the setter-hitter trust that she says is there. And you've seen that here tonight. No panic when they got down 2 sets to none. That's a good serve. Thunstrom missed it. Thunstrom started off on fire. It's been a little cool the last couple of sets. She's hitting in the negative now for the match, and Oregon State now 3 points away from pushing it 5. Thunstrom to Zorn, out of the middle thrower, and she puts it away. For Thrower, that's her 4th kill. She's hitting 500 going into that swing. So here's the libero, Pearson. That might have been sailing out. It was played. And that's put away. Everything that Oregon State's doing, they're staying in system. And their swings are finding the floor. Green puts that one away. They're hitting 286 here in this set. That's 16 kills this set with a couple of blocks and an ace. That's 19 of the 23 points here in this set has been earned, and coaches, you love that. On the flip side, if you're Coach Hildebrand, you're saying, hey, they're just beating us right now. Need a good pass here if you're St. Mary's. And that's an overpass, and that's put down by Mars, and it is a bunch of set points for Oregon State. Cormier tonight already has a new career high. 13 was her previous high in terms of kills. She's got 15 tonight. Thunstrom, there you go. That's what you got to see. Thunstrom, that's her 9th. You want to see her get going. if this goes to 5. This will be set point number 2. 24-17 Oregon State. Lazovic now in. She'll be the server and the setter for St. Mary's. Doing this shorthanded tonight, missing Maya Allen. Out of the middle. That's an overpass. They go away from the slide. Good hands on that right side. Lazovic back sets as Bain tips it into the block. And it is down. Oregon State, they took set 3, 25-16. They take set number 4, 25-17. We play 5. What else is new for St. Mary's? Stay with us. You're watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. And now it's for all the marbles. This will be the 10th fifth set match of the season for St. Mary's. They're 5-4 in 5 setters. During this 6-match winning streak, they're 4-0 in 5 setters. It's something that Coach Tyler Hildebrand said, hey, we're used to. We actually chatted about that, all the 5 setters that they've played earlier in the week, and he said it's just something that we're used to. It's a good test here tonight for St. Mary's. And they won the first 2 sets. They've lost the next 2. As you take a look at some of the numbers here, that side-out percentage number is gigantic in that last set for Oregon State. 72% to just 50% for St. Mary's. And they held St. Mary's to just 5 kills in that set. And they hit 0. Oregon State had 17 kills, hit 289. You add that ace and 3 blocks. And out of the 25 points, 21 of them were earned. That's a big number. We'll see if the Gales can respond after they took sets 1 and 2, 25-18, 25-22. Oregon State went 25-16, 25-17 in the 3rd and the 4th set. It's a career night already for Cormier. Cormier 15 kills in this match, hitting .343. Got Hester with 10 kills, hitting .148. Bain in double figures again with 11 kills. Castellan is 1 shy of her season high, which she had against Pacific. She's got 9, and then Thunstrom has 9 as well. We stay on the same side. St. Mary's and Oregon State. St. Mary's trying to knock off Oregon State for the first time since 2004, and only the 2nd time ever in their previous previous 7 matchups. This is meeting number 8. Oregon State also, this is a big one. They're trying to move their conference record to 9-3 and still have a chance at winning the West Coast Conference. A lot of things got to go their way, but they have to continue to win and then also have a shot at possibly 20 wins this season. Here we go, set 5, that's out. And that's how we start this 5th set. We've seen for the match 17 ties and 8 lead changes. No tie or lead changes in set 1 and 3. Saw a bunch of them in set 2. 6 ties and 2 lead changes last set. Thunstrom. That's going to be an overpass. Put away with some pop by Genevieve Bain. Hitters love the overpass, let me tell you. She got excited, no doubt. 12 kills for Bain. Thunstrom. Good pass by Shum. Out of the middle. Kept up by Lazovic. That's going to be a net violation against Oregon State. It was an overpass. Hester just got a little overexcited. Sometimes it's hard to wait for the volleyball to get over the net. And it's a 3-0 start for the Gales. Thunstrom behind the service line. Good serve. Good pass by Shum. Matthias. That's put away by Rummel. She's now in double figures. 3rd player in double figure kills for the Beavers. What a fun volleyball match to bring your way here from Moraga, California, on the campus of St. Mary's. Gales have won 6 in a row. Oregon State, they're 8-3 in the West Coast Conference, tied for 3rd currently. They go at Thunstrom. That's an overpass, and that's easy money for Mars, and it's a 3-2. Serve receive is going to be big. First contact is going to be huge here in this fifth set. First contact, whether it's serve receive or whether it's first contact off a swing. The passing game always crucial, but especially in the fifth set. Lazovic, Castellan off the net. That's touched. And that ties us up at 3. That young lady having herself the best match she's had in a Beaver uniform. Cormier, 16 kills. 3 in a row right back at you. I think you got to stay aggressive swinging if you're St. Mary's, even on out-of-system balls. Good pass by Pearson. Lazovic to Bain. She'll stay aggressive. When you stay in system, you got a lot of options, and Bain is your number 1 option. 12 kills for Bain. There's a good pass by Pearson, which gives Lazovic options. She goes to Bain, and she squeezed it through the double block. Scouten is going to take a seat. They're going to bring in Natalie Pete, the redshirt sophomore. Stands 5'6". First action tonight for the young lady from San Ramon, California. She will have the serve for Scouten. Good pass, Matias out of the middle to Mars. Shouldered by Lazovic. Tipped by thrower. That was not over the net. Was it touched, though? You're going to get a challenge. Both coaches got an additional challenge as we are in the fifth set. They're going to challenge to see if it was touched. That ball caught the top of the tape and then fell back on St. Mary's side of the net. But was it touched by an Oregon State player? It's a good challenge no matter what. Both teams ended up having 2 challenges after you get that additional challenge. They were down to 1, got the additional for going 5. And so R2, Brian Brink, is going to take a peek at this one. It's either a replay of the points or we're tied up at 4. What a fun match to be a part of. Thanks for joining us tonight on ESPN+. This is the West Coast Conference Volleyball. I mentioned that San Diego and Washington State had byes tonight as we take a look at this one back. So you see thrower literally just throws it over her head, catches the top of the tape. Does it catch the arm of Mars at all, though? That's going to be the question. And if it does, it's a replay of the point. Obviously, Mars is going to say she didn't touch it. And obviously, St. Mary's is going to say that, hey, she did. This one's close. The call on the floor was no touch, so you got to see enough to overturn it. Mars' hands are definitely right near the volleyball, but does she make contact with it? It's tough from that angle for us to see. This will be a little better of an angle. Great job by our camera crew here tonight. I don't know, man. Does it catch her right forearm? That's tough. It's got to be enough to overturn it. Every call in the fifth set's a big call. So you've got the R2 taking his time. We'll wait and see. But action around the conference tonight. You had LMU taking on Portland in Portland. Pepperdine was on the road against Gonzaga earlier tonight. Seattle U at Pacific, and then Santa Clara taking on the University of San Francisco. Next volleyball match for St. Mary's is on Saturday when they will travel to San Diego. But don't forget the soccer team has got a big soccer game where they're trying to win the WCC regular season title for the first time ever. That kicks off at 1 o'clock against Santa Clara right here on the campus of St. Mary's. Wait for the call, and they're going to say it was inconclusive. And so they'll stay with the call on the floor. That means that Coach Hildebrand, will have the 1 challenge remaining. Coach Bohanek for Oregon State will have both challenges remaining. So it's 4 apiece. So now you're going to have the libero in Yasmin behind the service line for Oregon State. Oregon State trying to pull the reverse sweep on St. Mary's and snap their 6-match winning streak and move to 7-1 all time against St. Mary's. Good pass by Castellon. They go to Castellon. There you go. That ties her season high in kills of 10. She had that against Pacific, which started this winning streak. Lazovic goes to Castellon and she puts it away. Now you got Zorn in to do the serving and the setting. You got a new libero, or you're playing 2 liberos now for St. Mary's, as they've got G in. Thrower doesn't put that down. Kept up by Oregon State. Cormier, that's out of play. It was not touched. I did not see a touch at all. We'll see if there's a challenge, and there will be. We'll have to watch and see if there was one. The way the ball went, you would think it was a touch, but I'll be live along the net. I didn't see one live, but the way the ball reacted would make it seem like it was a touch. It would give Cormier her 17th kill, by the way. And that's a quick call, so it was touched, I guess. Yeah. That was a quick call by the R2. No argument from head coach Tyler Hildebrand. And we will be tied at 5. Cormier's got 16 kills, hitting .361 for the freshman. They target Vos. Back set to Castellon, and it's blocked on that left side, and Oregon State retakes the lead here in the 5th. Trying to pull off a reverse sweep over St. Mary's and snap their 6-match winning streak. Long way to go in this one. Hester. Out of the middle, thrower puts it down. That's her 5th kill. It's 6 up. Castellon now in the back row. She's got the serve. Mentioned they are playing with 2 liberos now. Is St. Mary's. Catherine G., the 5'4" senior. She's wearing number 1. And you got Pearson's the other one. Good serve by Castellon. Out of system, Hester from the back row. That's dug by Zorn. This has to be bump set. They go to Thunstrom. That's dug by Yasmin. Off of hands. They play it off the net. It rolls over the net. Back set from the back row, tip short, touched by Vos. Out of the back row, Castellon cuts the top of the tape. Matias. That's blocked on the right side by Vos. A scrappy point. St. Mary's wins it. It's 7-6. Vos, as Cormier just plays it into her hand and it finds the floor. Timeout, Oregon State. We'll take it. 7-6. St. Mary's in the 5th. You're watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. St. Mary's is retaking the lead here in the 5th. What a fun, entertaining match. Thanks for joining us on ESPN+. 7-6 lead Gales. Gales took the first 2 sets. Oregon State responded with 2 in the 3rd and 4th. Cormier's had a huge match. She's got 17 kills tonight for the freshman as she rotates out, and Tia Shum will come in to play the back row. She's just been outstanding. I've really loved what I've seen from the setter, Matias, for Oregon State as well. 7 apiece. Zorn. That's put away. Good, smart swing by Miley Thunstrom. And we switch sides. We'll keep it here. 8-7 lead for St. Mary's. All they've done, it seems like, is play 5-set matches. This is their 10th 5-set match this season. They're 5-4 this year. But in this winning streak, in which they've won 6 in a row, they have had 4 5-set matches, and they've won all 4. Thunstrom with 10 kills, Castellon with 10 kills, and Bain leads the way for St. Mary's with 13. Good serve. That's kept alive. Free ball played. Touch first by G. Out of the middle. Scouten missed it. And we're tied at 8. 8 up. Good serve. That can't get over the net, and it's a 9-8 lead for Oregon State. That was just a really good serve by Cheyenne Green. Got St. Mary's all out of whack. Got to have a good pass here if you are the Gales. Here's the freshman Green. Caught the top of the tape. Good pass by Castellon. Zorn out of the middle to Scouten, and she puts it down. Haven't gone to her in a while. 8 kills now for Scouten, and we're tied at 9. What a match. St. Mary's playing with 2 liberos here in the 5th. Catherine G. and Elena Pearson. It's G who's on the floor right now. Lazovic is now in the back row. She's got the serve, and a beautiful one. That's an ace. Lazovic, her second ace. Timeout, Oregon State. We are in the 5th, 10-9 lead Gales. We'll keep it here as you're watching on ESPN+. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Immediately following this game, time permitting, we will get head coach Tyler Hildebrand over to the table to chat with him, win or loss. If we don't have enough time, then we won't get a chance to chat with him. And St. Mary's is back in action on Saturday when they travel to San Diego. Oregon State, a reminder, they are home on Sunday against LMU. Beavers were preseason picked to finish 4th in the West Coast Conference. St. Mary's preseason picked number 6 in the WCC. Well, one thing that's really turned around St. Mary's with this winning streak has been just the belief and the confidence. Their confidence is high. Right now, they lead 10-9 here in the 5th for Oregon State. They've been playing some good volleyball as well. They're coming off a tough 4-set loss to Washington State on Sunday, but before that, it was back-to-back sweeps over LMU and Portland on the road. Lazovic, the setter of the week a couple of weeks ago, is having a big night. 25 assists, 15 digs, her 4th double-double of the season with a couple of aces. Good serve. That's put down by Matias. What a smart play by the setter. Nothing Matias could do except go over her head and find the floor, and it's 10 up. You had the R2 just warn Matias after she put that down. So now you got the R2 talking to head coach Lindsey Bohonic. Maybe she said something. He's just saying, hey, settle down a little bit. Matias, that was such a smart play as that ball was definitely going over the net for an overpass. And since she's in the front row, she could go up and get it at 5'9", the transfer from Hawaii. 10 up, she's got the serve now. Lundstrom cuts and crowd with Pearson. Bain, see you later. Okay, Bain. 14th kill for Bain. And you're going to get a card is shown to the coaching staff for Oregon State. Not sure why, not sure what happened, but head coach Lindsey Bohonic just got shown the card from the R1. And now you've got the R2 talking to Castellon as well. So I think you've got the officiating crew trying to stop the chat going back and forth. It's 11-10 St. Mary's. Set coming in, you got the Gales playing red-hot volleyball, winning 6 in a row. Oregon State currently in 3rd, 8-3. Set coming in, this was going to be one of those good volleyball matches tonight, and it has not disappointed. It's been intense in here. Gales leading 11-10 over the Beavers. We are in the 5th. Here is the freshman with the serve in Thunstrom. Shum to Matias. Into the block, kept up off the shoulder, but that's a net violation. Against Mars, her full foot went underneath the net. And St. Mary's leads 12-10 here in the 5th. And they're going to challenge the net violation against Mars. But we are courtside. You had her foot. It looked like her full foot went underneath the net across that line. That's why the net violation was called by the R2, Brian Brink. She didn't make contact with the net, but that doesn't matter. If your full foot goes past that line underneath the net, that's going to be called a net violation, because then it becomes dangerous for the players on the other side of the net. And that's what they're going to take a peek at. This will be a very tough angle to see as Mars does her full foot. Yeah, it is. It's a net violation, definitely. Actually, they didn't even call it on Mars. It was Rummel's full foot. Mars actually stayed out of the net. It was Rummel who got the net violation. 12-10 Gales here in the fifth. Thunstrom, who's had a good match behind the service line. Back set. Good hands on the left side. Matthias out of the middle to Mars. Touch kept up by Lazovic. G bump sets it to Bain, and that is just mishit by Bain. That was a good physical block on that left pin. And Bain on the right side just hit it long. And that gets Cormier back in, and now you got danger on the floor. 17 kills, hitting .333, and the freshman from Canada is in the front row. Got to have a good pass if you're St. Mary's. At 8, Pearson up. Lazovic, long way to go, and you got a free ball coming. They can go to Cormier, and they go middle to Mars. Kept up for a second, and that's it. We are tied at 12. Timeout, St. Mary's. So a change of pace. They go middle to Mars, and it's 12 apiece. It's going to be all about the pass. You got to stay in system if you're St. Mary's. As you got Oregon State out of timeouts. St. Mary's has 1 remaining here in the fifth. What a match. 3 players in double figures in kills for St. Mary's. Bain, Thunstrom, Castellan. For Oregon State, it's Cormier, Mars, Hester, and Rummel. That's 4 players in double figures for the Beavers. Beavers are hitting .312 here in this fifth. St. Mary's hitting $167. Oregon State, when you look at the numbers, they're out hitting St. Mary's. 59 kills for the match to just 51, 206 to 116. But somehow it is tied here in the fifth. Goldstein will have the serve for the Beavers. Got to have a good pass here if you are St. Mary's. Oregon State's had 3 aces, 14 service errors tonight. Thunstrom with the pass. Tipped by Castellan. That's kept up. And what a get by Pearson. Castellan down the line. That's kept up. They'll go to Cormier. Rolls it. Kept up by St. Mary's. Out of the back row. Blocked. Thunstrom was just standing still from the back row. Really nothing she could do. Tried to hit it aggressive. And it's 13-12 Oregon State. They've scored the last 3. Trying to pull off the reverse sweep. Cormier was in on that block too on that last one. Long and out of play, and a service error, number 15. We're tied at 13. First team to win 2 in a row is going to walk away with the dub. Natalie Pete in to serve for St. Mary's. They've got 6 aces here tonight, along with 9 service errors. They've been serving aggressive throughout the night, trying to keep Oregon State out of system. Matthias has done a great job setting for Oregon State. They can do anything here. Back set. Hester missed it. She missed it wide. It was one-on-one on that right side, and you're going to get a challenge if it was touched. And honestly, I think this is just a smart play by head coach Lindsey Bohonic. She knows it wasn't touched. This is just buying your team a timeout. You're out of timeouts. It's going to be match point. You have a challenge remaining. Why not? Maybe something shows up on the replay. But live, it did not look touched at all. The reaction was it was not touched at all either by Hester. But this buys you a timeout. You see coaches do this all the time. When you're out of timeouts and you still got a challenge, just ask for a challenge. And it's going to be a quick call made by the R2. And they're going to say that it was not touched. Like we thought, it was just to get a quick timeout and make the server think about it a little bit more in Natalie Pete. So it is match point. Gales trying to win against Oregon State for the first time since 04. Win 7 conference matches in a row for the first time since 09. It's match point. Matthias Cormier eliminates it. 18 kills for Cormier. She is special. Scouting will just come in just so they can get the libero Pearson back in. 14 up. Gnarly Oglu, what a match. Service error. 16th tonight. Match point number 2 for St. Mary's, and it's going to be on the hands of Maddie Zorn. Trying to win in 5 for the 5th time in 7 matches. Zorn. Matthias Cormier. Kept up in the back. What a get by G. Free ball for Oregon State. Matthias back sets. What a get. No, it goes out of play, and that's put away by Hester. Zorn got arms on it, but nothing more. What a get by G to keep that one up and give him a chance. 15 up. What a serve. Zorn tips short. Chance here for Oregon State. They're going to go to their special player, and Cormier rolls it. That's mishandled by Vos, and it's a match point for Oregon State. Timeout, St. Mary's. 16-15 here in the 5th. Smart swing by the freshman Cormier with that roll shot. And then Vos just jumped in the middle, just put her right arm out, and it kind of rolled off of her, and then there's nothing you can do. St. Mary's had 2 match points here in this set. Now Oregon State has a match point. You watch this one back. Watch the swing by the freshman. Nothing she can do. She's falling out of bounds, just rolls it over. And Vos stepped in front, didn't realize that Zorn was there as well. She was trying to just hop it to the setter in Zorn, and it just rolled off her right arm. 16-15 Beavers. Obviously, it's all about the first contact. Got to have a good pass for St. Mary's. You got to have it. Oregon State trying to pick up their 9th victory in the West Coast Conference and have a happy flight. And it's going to be the first team All-WCC selection last year in Hester behind the service line, who had a good serve on the last one. They've been targeting Thunstrom, who right now is standing in the left back spot. Number 22 for the Gales. They go at her, and that's a service error. 17th tonight, and we're tied at 16. Castellan with the serve. She is in the back row now. Matthias Cormier blocked on the right side. Right side, strong side. That is Thrower and Vos, and it's match point number 3. Picture perfect. Pressing your hands across. 13th block tonight. Match point 3 for St. Mary's. Matthias back to Cormier, and she tools the block. Man, she's big time. 20 kills tonight for Cormier. She rotates out. And then Rummel's going to rotate into the front row. Tia Shum, a good server, will have it for Oregon State, tied at 17. Goes at Pearson, good pass. Zorn, nothing you can do but tip it to Thunstrom. Matthias to Rummel. And that is not touched, that's out of play. And no challenges remain for Oregon State. And it's 18-17 St. Mary's. So they're going to wipe up sweat on the floor just to buy some time. And it's going to be Catherine G behind the service line. Match point number 4 for the Gales. Trying to win their 7th in a row. And a service error. 18 apiece. And now you've got in the back row with the serve, Cheyenne Green, who's been very good. The middle, the freshman, serving the volleyball tonight. He's gotten St. Mary's out of system a few times with the serve. That rolls off of Thunstrom. That's tipped right into the block. Miscommunication between Vos and Castellon. Castellon had the ball. Vos ran backwards into her, and it's a match point number 2 for Oregon State. And now you've got a challenge going to be called by St. Mary's, and this is just the use of the timeout basically for head coach Tyler Hildebrand. He's challenging a net call. You saw R2 put up 3 on his fingers, which means it's a net fault, a net violation, which they're challenging. I didn't see anybody in the net for Oregon State, so this is just to use a timeout, which is exactly what Oregon State did since he had a challenge remaining, and that's a quick call made by the R2, and there was no net. I didn't see one either. Match point number 2 for Oregon State. 19-18 here in the 5th. They're trying to pick up their 9th conference victory of the season and 15th win overall. Want to get to keep that alive. Free ball, chance for Oregon State. They'll go quick. Matthias to Rummel, off of hands. There's Thunstrom. Zorn to Vos. That's blocked. They'll bump set it to Rummel. Pearson in the back row. And it's over. Oregon State is going to snap the 6-match winning streak for St. Mary's in 5, 20-18. They pull off the reverse sweep. St. Mary's had 4 match points, but it's Oregon State that wins it in the 5th by a final of 20-18. The Beavers move their record to 15-7, 9-3 in conference. St. Mary's, they are going to fall to 6-5 and 8-14 overall. What a fun match to be a part of. It was Oregon State coming back after St. Mary's took the first 2 sets. Let's take a look at some final numbers here in this one. As St. Mary's for the match hit just 101. Oregon State hit a $198. Saw both teams with 13 blocks apiece. But the story was the balance. You had Oregon State with 4 players in double-figure kills. Cormier had 20. You had 11 for Hester, 10 for Mars, and 10 for Rummel. For St. Mary's, you had 14 for Bain, 10 for Thunstrom, and 10 for Castellon. But it was not enough, as St. Mary's will fall in this one in 5. After they won the first set 25-18, won the second set 25-22, then it was Oregon State 25-16, 25-17, 20-18 in the 5th. St. Mary's will be back in action on Saturday when they take on the University of San Diego on the road. Oregon State doesn't play until Sunday when they take on LMU. So it's St. Mary's that falls in their 6-match winning streak that comes to a close. Oregon State now 7-1 all time against St. Mary's. That's going to wrap up our broadcast tonight from Moraga, California. Thanks for watching. You have been watching West Coast Conference Volleyball on ESPN+. We'll see you soon. Have yourself a wonderful night. For our entire crew, I'm Matt Norton.